Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guests today are James McCament, the Chief Digital Transformation Officer for Customs and Border Protection, David Raley, the CX Digital Program Manager for the Marine Corps Community Services, and MaryAnn Monroe, the Managing Director of the CX Accelerator at Maximus. Everyone, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Great to be here.
James, let's start with you.
Sure.
I think a lot of people are familiar with CBP's national security mission, but maybe a little less familiar with their CX mission. Can you tell me a little bit more about who CBP's customers are?
Absolutely, thank you. And you're right, as the nation's largest law enforcement agency, people have some great familiarity in that space. But we actually have a very diverse mission set. For example, both in the law enforcement side and the secure facilitation of lawful travel, but also in the trade side. And for example, in passenger processing, our customers include the travelers, the airlines, the airport, the rail lines, the port authorities, and of course other government agency officials that we work with. In the area of international trade, we have importers, exporters, carriers, shippers, brokers, attorneys, freight forwarders, representatives overall from more than 50 government agencies, the World Customs Organization, and others. And what that means as far as customer base is we also, of course, have non-governmental organizations, state and locals. And we gather an enormous amount of data. I'll be speaking more about the impact of that, but we receive data from more than 1.2 million travelers a day. We receive more than 300,000 importers and more than 300,000 exporters a year are providing data to us. So very diverse set of customers. As I said, the largest law enforcement organization in the country, one of the largest in the world, but also concurrently the trade mission makes that quite unique for our customer base and our mission.
Yeah, a huge public-facing footprint. Dave, can you tell me a little bit more about your agency and the customers you guys have?
We are the organization within the Marine Corps that actually provides quality of life and other services for Marines and their families. And there's a equivalent capability within the other branches of the DoD as well. Retail services, golf courses, theaters, bowling alleys, child care centers, sexual assault counseling, transition support, financial services. There's over 80 different programs and 25 different businesses that we operate and manage on Marine Corps bases across the globe. So it's a fairly sizable revenue component to what we do, supporting those Marines and families, over a $1.2 billion a year company or organization within the Marine Corps. And we also have global operations, as I mentioned, 14,000 employees. So I sit within the technology capability that supports that organization at Headquarters Marine Corps.
All right, thanks so much. And MaryAnn, we've seen CX as a discipline really grow and evolve and change in about a decade now as CX branded. Can you tell me a little bit more of that brief history, how you have seen that discipline in government change and evolve and grow over time?
Certainly, CX has been a focus for several administrations, and even more recently, there has just been a surge of emphasis on improving government services, improving the efficiency and effectiveness of government services. While there is a lot of attention on it now, that's actually not new. It has been around here for several administrations with the establishment of high-impact service providers and the establishment of more leaders across government who serve in a customer experience or service delivery role. Now we're even advancing that imperative for improving government services even more through the Government Service Delivery Improvement Act, as well as some of the new memorandums as of late around the advancement and the use of AI to improve innovation and governance and in the federal government. So we are really accelerating the use of service delivery for the people and looking at new ways to do that and improve their experiences across the board, across the government.
All right, great, thank you. Dave, it seems like there's, no matter what agency you're looking at, so a couple of key components to CX excellence. And that really usually comes down to people, process, technology. Mm-hmm. We were talking a lot about the processes and getting those right so that the services improve from there. Can you expound on that a little bit more for me?
Yeah, I might want to pull back the lens just a little bit and talk kind of our journey to get to the understanding and need for reimagining the way that we deliver our service delivery, like MaryAnn was talking about. And it went back almost a decade now of doing a lot of deep research and understanding of who Marines are and their families and what needs and pain points and things in their life, using that truly human-centered design, ethnography type of approach. And we use that to actually build out the strategy for our organization of how we advance what we do to take care of those Marines. We built something we called the service blueprint, which is around that service delivery. And when we did that, we started to discover that there was very key things within our organization that we were missing capability around. And so we call them our 10 capability pillars. And we were lacking, I won't list them all, but we were lacking in very particular areas. One specifically was around the technology that it takes to support the experience, and also how do we reduce encumbrances and bureaucracy around being able to move fast and do innovation more in that space. And then lastly, we just really had a lot of out-of-date technology capability that we needed to modernize if we were able to fulfill on that mission and vision. So what that led us towards in the journey that I've been on, I was in the innovation space and customer experience space specifically for a couple of years within the marketing group, and shifted over onto the technology side to help start building out the layer underneath of technology that's going to support that future vision state of customer experience. And what I found when I started on that journey was I had a particular vignette. We wanted to build a capability, and I went to our IT team and said, hey, can we build this thing? And they're like, yeah, well, we've got all of these ERP systems and end-of-life cycle replacements, and we'll probably talk to you in a couple of years, and we actually don't even really have that capability. We want people who know how to do app development. That led me on a journey to start partnering with industry, and we've built out a landing zone that has full authorization with a CI/CD pipeline software factory, and we are able to, we've termed something called Agile ATO. We're actually able to get authorizations inside 30 days, where typically in the DoD that takes 12 to 18 months. So that has been, I had to go get that capability to unlock our ability to start building out the right digital technology and capability to support the customer experience. So we've done some of that, and we're actually just now in that launch point where we're able to start accelerating faster, moving away from those like monolithic architectures into microservices and being able to do our own development, move faster. I know that there's compelling reasons why in the government you need to get commercial off-the-shelf items as much as you can, because that you don't want to rebuild what's essentially a utility. But also that cycle time when you start to build an acquisition and requirements definition, everything else, you start to look at 3, 4, 5 years to deploy something, and we need to be able to move much faster. So one of the reasons we've started internalizing some of that capability is so we can envision a need, put a product team together, and build out something in a matter of a few months and have it deployed with an MVP.
Exciting stuff. James, going back to those core ingredients of people, process, technology, where are you seeing the most improvement? Where are you seeing the need to further take those ingredients and where do you see the most opportunity for further improvement?
Thanks, absolutely. In fact, I want to build a bit on what Dave was saying. I think that what we've seen for CBP is we've always used technology. So, and of course we all do, right? But CBP has been one of the earliest innovators, because always trying to stay ahead of the pace of mission. So our mission, we have 69,000 employees, we have a large scale budget, but it is always dramatically outsized by the scope of mission, the secure facilitation of lawful trade and travel. And so we've always used emerging technology. We've tried to lean in as much as possible to what we can positively impact the mission with that technology. We're currently leveraging a lot of the cutting edge technology, the AI, and being able to comb through data to find the anomalies and create efficiencies, and picking up on some of the points as well, looking at what's the distinction between off-the-shelf technology that is helpful, but it may take longer to build, versus being more innovative and turning to be able to leverage our models and our information so that our frontline officers and agents now more than ever have more data than ever before. But do they really need to be the core handlers of that as far as a lot of the manual, if you will, integration of the data? So what we see is we far rather to have our officers, agents, everyone on the front line looking ahead at what they're doing, not necessarily looking down at the data stream. And so what that's evolved for us is being able to leverage technology and integrate in different ways and look at the cutting edge of the multimodal language, multimodal searches, the AI, to integrate all the flows of data coming, hand it to our officers and agents, then allow them to do what they uniquely can do. They've been trained to do, they want to do, use that human intuition, that skill set, and return time back to their mission by taking those administrative tasks off their shoulders. I disagree with the term that's often used of administrivia, because that sounds like an ability to just dismiss it. And some of that is accurate, right? Some things we need to say, and we don't think we have to have this. More of it is, however, it's what's on everyone's shoulders. So how can we buy back that time and let them do the 8 hours that they need? And a core part of that, and this goes exactly to what you were mentioning on the innovation, at CBP I've learned in this role as Chief Digital Transformation Officer, one of the reasons I was excited to pivot, leaving the Chief Operating Officer role and focus on this aspect was, how do we integrate what we're already doing at the grassroots innovation level? And so as an example, I've found, like you, that our people, our teams have developed over 14,000 power apps within CBP by using the App Store, by using the design and development. We have somewhere around 1,400 users that have basically at a grassroots level said, I need to fix this. Let me put this in place. And so part of the role that I'm looking at is in actively on the CX experience, the customer and the CBPX experience, is how to integrate those efforts, not necessarily centralize them, but that which is working well in one location, a port of our 328 ports of entry, or across our many Border Patrol stations and checkpoints, maybe it needs to stay there. It's solving the problem for that particular need. Or maybe it needs expanded out. And so how to integrate that, not slow it down, sometimes use off the shelf, but resonates so well in the immigration and security space. We can't wait 3 or 4 years to develop something. It's going to be outdated. And by the way, we can't stop the process of facilitating lawful trade and travel and say, give us 6 months, pause everybody, we'll be back for you. Can't. So these are some of the exciting opportunities, definitely challenges, but the opportunity to promote what our people are doing and also preserve uniquely what only they can deliver and move the rest to, whether it's cloud, technology, large language models, whatever it might be, and let it sit there and keep honing on their skill set is what we want to deliver for our team.
So I'd like to respond to that a little bit and peel back a little bit further. I think this is really important in the space to start to understand. He's talking about like what's uniquely something that an agency needs to build or create or capability, and then abstracting away all of those underlying, I'm going to call them services or utility services.
Right.
And I think overall with the current administration's focus on efficiency and removing waste and slowness out of government, one of the things is there's a lot of people that have more of a fixed mindset of, oh, well, the government must build its own infrastructure. No, stop it, right? Let's use cloud native services, let's use cloud native capabilities, and then how do we start to actually make acquiring those much, much simpler? And it's very possible. There's ways, and I'm exploring some things. I've done some unique things with the contracts that I manage with industry partners to remove friction points and make things much, much faster. Where if it's a utility service that's available in general, this should not be a long acquisition cycle. This should be fast, get that capability, and then embed that within your overall ecosystem so you can actually, again, tailor that last thing, the top piece, the application sitting on all the infrastructure, and really think much more about all of those other capabilities as just enablers and a utility service.
Yeah.
Well said, because I think, I'm sorry, George.
No, go ahead.
That just to add, I think as you describe, our ability to simplify our processes has to happen before we decide what we're going to automate or build, right? Because otherwise you're putting this, I don't know, use the analogy, cone or dome or something over something that's already a little clunky.
Yep.
And you just made it sort of automated. That doesn't work, right? And so I agree. I mean, our ability to kind of simplify, change the modes. And one statistic is just, it's really super simple math, so it may not play out always, but we have about 69,000 employees roughly around there. And if we save a minute, we've saved 69,000 minutes for the agency that can go back to mission. If we cost more, or you could say 60 or 65, right? You run the math and it says, this is where the force multiplying side really bears fruit on the term, and how we can do that. So anything, to your well said, anything we can move off the plate, rework, we're just tabulating time back to what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right.
MaryAnn, I want to give you an opportunity to respond here because, I mean, these are two missions where, like, the speed of need, responding to that need of the customers, I mean, this stuff is moving, and you need to be ready, deal with things in the moment, not months, not, with those backlogs. And so to get to, Dave, I think you said frictionless is really kind of the key here. How can agencies, how can industry empower these agencies to move and deal with these bottlenecks and ensure that there is frictionless delivery service?
Right, right. First, I think it's important to define what frictionless service is. And I think, making sure that we are in lockstep with our agency partners to understand and define what those outcomes are to deliver frictionless, simple experiences. Decrease the time, that's been already discussed. Make it simpler for people to interact and transact with the federal government. Make it easier for employees to focus on mission outcomes. And like James said, the data that comes to them has to be dealt with so that they can then understand there's lots of forms of data, but how do you use that data to deliver easier, simpler, seamless services to people or to employees? I think the other thing around frictionless is the focus on spanning multiple channels of communication is very important in meeting. In our world for Maximus, we serve so many different members of the public, from taxpayers to student loan borrowers to veterans to service members to Medicare beneficiaries, et cetera, et cetera. So being able to span those multiple ways of communicating and omni-channel communications and ways to engage so that they can accomplish their tasks, but also to then further the mission of the agencies in terms of delivering better health outcomes or higher beneficiary satisfaction and enrollment, et cetera. So simple, frictionless interactions, spanning multiple channels. I think we're also very focused on personalization and how do we use the data that we have available to us and integrate that to then move from not ignoring efficiency and effectiveness. That's core to what we need to be doing. But how do we move to a more proactive, personalized delivery of service? That's really where we're seeing the shift, and we're moving our customers to really focus on that proactive service delivery so that we can more anticipate versus react.
Yeah.
So I'd love to unpack the personalization piece a little bit more. If you could use one word to describe the future state vision that we see, a way our organization interacts with its customers, with Marines and their families, is personalization. I like to kind of talk about, so you've brought up multiple times, people, process, and technology. And really, what are the people, process, and technology that allow us to identify who our Marines are and our family members are as individuals when we interact with them across all those programs and services, and whether we're doing that physically or digitally. And then how do we then understand who they are as an individual, and then where are they in their life cycle? That will put us into a place where we could really anticipate what they need from us, and that moves us into the ability to engage with them in very meaningful ways, whether it's offer or content or support or whatever the case may be. And so we're on the early stages of that journey, putting some of the capability in place so that we can continue to more acutely identify them as individuals. We're moving from a very fragmented, siloed approach where the data we have all the data, but we're not actually using it to create that personalization. And so starting to build that where we can build it together. And then a lot of the experiences right now are very generic and not personalized. And so we're on that journey to move it to a hyper-personalized. So you might think about the way that Marriott or Disney choreographs an experience for somebody who's participating, whether it's in a stay or going to the park. It's the same idea. Like, the base is an ecosystem that has all kinds of services and capabilities that help reduce friction. I won't go as far as you to say frictionless. I think we're just going to reduce life as a service member has plenty of friction in it. So if we can take some pieces away, we feel like we're winning. But going across the day in the life, whether it's getting up at 05 to do unit PT and you forgot your glow belt, shoot, the Marine Mart doesn't open until 06 and I'm going to get in trouble for not having my glow belt. Oh, we have a unattended retail thing in the first floor of the barracks where you can actually go purchase that on your own, and it's open 24 hours. Those are the types of small little experiences that we can start to unlock when we do that personalization. This is all based on that research that we start to build.
And I'd like to pick up on that as well, on the personalization. So for all who have traveled, you know that CBP specializes in personalization, meaning if you were entering into the country, we need to lock your identity and as you come in, right? And so in that aspect, that's a very old part of our mission, or enduring part of our mission of the one-to-one. But in the aspect of matching customer expectations of today, right, we're competing with, in a way, retail establishments and others of the speed and the access. Why can't I do this on my phone? Why can't I access more quickly? So one of our great opportunities has been focusing on actually eventually getting to frictionless travel experience. So Global Entry, our Global Entry program, I think is the key example among of our customer experience efforts. Mobile passport control is another, but on Global Entry, we've had about 247% increase in investment by people being in the program since we began about 10 years ago. And what we've also seen since post-COVID, post the pandemic, is an increase of about 35% in passengers coming into the country. So that means we have to zero in on what the personalization means, that personalizing does not mean slowing down. So we are working in the Global Entry space particularly to evolve to a frictionless travel that focuses on security, yet it doesn't slow the facilitation. The better precision CBP has on personalization, the quicker the travel experience will be for those who don't have any concerns. At the same time, the national security aspect is well integrated because we have more time to focus on the personalized if we have a concern about someone traveling. And so it's an evolution, as you both were saying. I thought it is the personalization, it's how we keep driving to meet those sort of retail, private sector perspectives with secure facilitation of travel and trade. And you know, since Global Entry began, I think we've used AI in the screening space to be able to screen over almost 700 million travelers biometrically, so launching their identity with their facial identity and biometrics, and really been able to effectuate national security at the same time. So all that being said, I think it's personalization, but it's personalization in the 21st century. It can be frictionless travel. You should be able to go fast if we have a secure view of your identity and your background. And we should also then have more time to mission where we need to talk to someone because we have concerns.
That's right. The balance.
Right.
Can you just take maybe one step further? I mean, give an example of that personalization in effect here. How are you meeting people where they are?
Sure, absolutely. So a couple different, I think, in saying meeting people where they are and the personalization is also recognizing the impact that process has on slowing down. And so it's slowing down the action. So if I may, I think focusing too on the trade side for a moment, so the automated commercial environment and our technology. We have for many years had in our vessel entrance clearance system the paper-based. We've always been paper-based. This is like other of our immigration agencies, including USCIS and my background there. We were able to move from a paper-based to a digital experience. So it allowed the importers, trade specialists to be able to focus filing online. Why is that in the personalized space? Well, it means that it could more quickly facilitate the processing. It actually gave back almost 300,000 hours in processing time back to our agency and the brokers and filers. Another example, and I say that in the personalization and the impact, because one of the quotes that we heard on the VEX, Vessel Entrance Clearance System, those changes was, we now actually have time to focus on our mission, even some family time. I'm not sitting in a parking lot waiting for the office to open to be able to provide you the paper. And so I think that's an aspect of the return on investment, is our taking care of the needs by accelerating technology in a way that delivers back and protects the mission. And at the same time, for our people is a focus on ensuring that in other spaces we're looking at how we can move from the paper to the digital and give better satisfaction to our employees. We care about that. It also gives them more time to do their work.
All right. Well, great insights from all of you. We're going to have so much more to get into in just a moment here. This is a great place for a break. We've been speaking with James McCament, the Chief Digital Transformation Officer for Customs and Border Protection, Dave Raley, the CX Digital Program Manager for the Marine Corps Community Services, and MaryAnn Monroe, the Managing Director of the CX Accelerator at Maximus. Please join us tomorrow for day 2 of the CX Exchange as we continue our conversation.